Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are making a sign for our nephew and his bride-to-be. They're married now. This is something they'd asked of us, and so we made it.
So we're going to be making this out of a rough piece of walnut. It is rough on both sides, and the joiner is not big enough to flatten this. So we made a little sled for the planer. Here we are hot gluing the piece on so that it won't move. We'll flatten one side, take it off, flatten the other side. So we'll just keep running it through the planer, get those sides flat, get all that rough cut, or it's actually from when they milled it on the bandsaw. Leaves those marks in there, and we want this to be flat, and then we'll take it over to the CNC and get it carved up. Here we are at the CNC router. We're going to get it in the fence. I've actually got this set up in the far back corner so that it can maximize the size that we can get in there, as opposed to the front corner, because the router can actually come out past the base, and we have used that a few times to cut farther out. We're going to use a 60-degree V-bit on this. Since we are going to fill it with resin, just do the V-bit, and then when we plane it down, it will look great, and we don't have to use as much resin that way. Now we'll speed this up a little bit. We do take a few passes on it just to inch up to the depth that we need. And it actually needed to be a little bit wider than this bit, so you will see it change out to a different 60-degree V-bit that's got enough width to do the full depth what we needed. Yes. So this is a little USB wireless keyboard. We use this to control the router software. The computer's actually inside on the other side of this wall with cables passed through the wall to control everything. That way there's no dust or anything where the computer's at. We were using a laptop, but it was an older laptop and didn't run very well. So now we can plug it into the good computer and just use that little wireless keyboard to control it.
So much easier than bringing the mouse out too.
Absolutely.
We did that for a little while.
And here is that bigger V-bit so that it can get the full width that we have on some of these letters, and especially what you will see is going to become a heart in the middle.
And there it is, the finished CNC cut. We found out their favorite colors so we could use them, and they're blue and purple. And then we'll mix them together in the middle.
Those other little wet spots are just some little inclusions in the wood that we put clear epoxy in, or resin, before we mix the colors, just to fill in those holes so that it'd be solid, and then when we come back and plane it later, it'll be a little bit more stable. It won't chip out. Trying to figure out how to mix the colors in these, and we just decided to go top half, bottom half, and love the way it turned out.
Yes.
Since it's flat and we could actually close the doors on the enclosure the CNC router's in, we put it back on the wasteboard in there using the torch to blow out all the bubbles on top of that to smooth it out, and then we're going to let it sit overnight.
So we tried the belt sander first to sand it down, get rid of some of the extra epoxy. Took a little while and decided that just wasn't going to cut it.
It definitely works. It will work.
It's just time consuming.
Very time consuming. I was a little afraid to use the planer at first, hoping that it wasn't going to
Rip out.
Yeah, take chunks out of it, which is why I did this to start with, but yeah, I'm not gonna do that. So let's get the planer back out. Taking very, very light cuts on this. Again, afraid of it ripping out that resin, and ended up no problems at all. So once it started cutting into the resin, it worked great. Kept it pretty shallow just in case, and flattened it out perfect. Here's the random orbital, 320. No, that's what we end with. So we start with, goodness, I might have gone down to 80, then 120, 220, 320. And with resin, we found out that if you skip 180, which is not a common one in the stores to buy, it'll leave little pigtails in resin. It's very hard to see, but when you do larger pieces with a lot more resin, you'll see little pigtails. You cannot skip any grit when you're sanding resin. When you're sanding wood and resin both, they are different hardness, so you need to move that sander fairly quickly so that you don't sand unevenly. It'll keep it flat and help that out. Getting it wet here to raise the grain, then we'll sand it more, raise the grain again, sand it more. We just want this to be really, really smooth.
Yes.
We did find a couple more spots in the wood that looked a little maybe softer, like they were tearing out a bit, so we went back with super glue and filled those in, made sure they were good, sanded it back smooth again. Now breaking out the router table here, just going to round over all of the edges, top and bottom. I want to say this is a 1/4 inch round over bit with a bearing on the top, so it runs against it and puts a perfect corner on it. Did cut little slots on the back, as you can see there, so that they can hang it on a wall. Here is the Osmo finish. This is the first really thin coat, so that it gets down deeper into the wood. So spreading this out here a little bit so that it doesn't shoot the finish everywhere. And then I've got a white pad. This is just like a floor buffing pad. Using the random orbital again to just buff this out. And what you want to do is spread it out a little bit and then buff it until it's dry. It'll seep down into the wood really well to start. That's what the thin coat one is for. And just take your time, lots of buffing. I'm gonna hand do the sides since, the orbital's not gonna work on the sides.
It might, but it'd get messy.
Yeah, it'd be super.
The cardboard wall.
Yeah, cardboard wall is there because it was shooting a little finish when we did the first little bit and added that, and we'll keep going. It's finished like a cutting board, so they could use it for that. It's really got a lot of different applications it can be used for.
Here we are using our brand on a piece that we've made for the first time.
First time. Very nerve-wracking. Very nerve-wracking.
Awesome.
Yeah, it turned out great.
Here's the finished products. So, thanks for coming. Thanks for watching.
Like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys later.